Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. On today's episode, we'll be talking about SoxFest Live, what the new version of SoxFest will look like with Sheena Quinn, and we'll talk about the White Sox tendering a contract to Andrew Vaughn here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio 8 of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, a full CHGO White Sox crew. That is Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That is Wyllys, our CHGO Baseball Writer. You could read both of their works at ALLCITY.com. The man kind of in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. We're being produced today by our pal, Sarah. Hello. On today's show, we'll be talking to Sheena Quinn, the Senior Director of Public Relations for the White Sox, about what SoxFest will look like in 2025. And we'll also talk about Andrew Vaughn's future with the team after he was tendered a contract on Friday. Let's welcome in the Senior Director of Public Relations for the White Sox, Sheena Quinn. Hi, Sheena. How are you? We're good. We're excited to have you on and chatting. The first thing that I think most people are wondering is, was the White Sox intention for SoxFest when they brought it back always to buck the conventional convention idea and go to something live like this? Or is this something that developed after, throwing out the idea or, considering the traditional convention idea?
Sure. We've missed SoxFest on the calendar, certainly, as much as everybody else. We haven't had it since 2020. So when we were talking about bringing it back, we felt like we had to do it differently, right? We wanted to think about ways that felt like we were really rooted at home, but also doing it in a different way that brought a new kind of experience to the fans. And doing it right here in Ramova, a couple blocks from the ballpark, felt like a really fun way to do it. Tyler and the whole crew at Ramova, they're incredible people to work with. It feels like the right way to bring it back, bring SoxFest back to the fans.
Sheena, I think people are curious about what this new format is going to look like. People are used to, the multiple floors of the Hilton or the big room that you guys had at McCormick Place. This seems like it's going to be a little smaller, a little more intimate. What are the two nights going to look like for people who show up?
Sure. If you haven't been to Ramova Theater, it's a beautiful historic theater. I think we're really excited about the fact that we're hosting it in a historic theater setting. It's going to feel much different than where we were in years past. SoxFests of the past certainly were about autographs, about the masses coming through and really meeting people. This year is going to be about exclusive conversations with our fans and really meaningful connections with everybody that's in attendance. You can expect live music, live performances, and of course, conversations with our baseball leadership, members of the clubhouse, our new coaching staff. It's going to be a great way to see and hear from the people that you want to hear from most in the 2025 season.
So Sheena, kind of speaking of that sort of thing, the interaction between fans and players, whether it's current players or former players, how is that going to work with, a fan who maybe does want a chance to get an autograph, take a picture with somebody, something like that?
Sure, there's still going to be opportunities for meet and greets. We definitely have not lost that feeling with the new SoxFest Live concept. We're expanding out. The people at Ramova Theater are just so wonderful to us. They're allowing us to move a little bit into the beer garden and actually put a tent up, a heated tent up, and we're going to make those spaces all about the meet and greets for fans. So you'll still have an opportunity to meet the players and the Sox greats that will be in attendance in a meet and greet style. It's just not going to be the typical format that I think people remember of autograph tables, but more, again, about shaking hands and taking photos and having an opportunity to get an autograph signed. Is just not only going to be about that.
And Sheena, as a fan of course, the 2005 team, it's coming up to the 20th year of that team. Will there be some type of recognition, some of those players in attendance at SoxFest Live?
Yeah, we're planning to kick off the whole 2025 season with our entire 125th anniversary celebration. That's really kind of the informal start for us for the start of the 2025 season. So certainly big milestones like the 2005 World Series championship is going to be something that we are planning to celebrate at SoxFest Live with some special guest appearances, but there'll be more details about that to come closer to the event.
And as you talked about Chris Getz, and I think also it was mentioned that Will Venable will be speaking at SoxFest Live, do you think that they'd be speaking on both days, or can people expect unique experiences on both the Friday and the Saturday?
So there's going to be, we're still mapping out the details of the programming, which again will be announced closer to the event dates. But there's going to be opportunities to hear from both of them. So I think that everybody's going to have a chance to ask their questions and also hear directly from Chris and Will and all of the members from the baseball leadership. It's not going to be the same show twice, though.
The Remova Theater, they just remodeled it down there in Bridgeport. I mean, it's a cool looking spot. Haven't been there myself for a concert yet, but what is the capacity like? Obviously, I mentioned some of the huge spaces that SoxFest past have been held in. What kind of how do you kind of compare the amount of fans that are going to be able to fill in for this event versus the SoxFests of the past?
It's definitely going to be a more intimate setting. The capacity is going to be smaller than what it was at previous events venues that you mentioned, but Remova is going to be able to fit. They host a lot of events. They sell out a lot of shows there. So I think we're going to be comfortable with the number of people that will be over there. It'll be probably around like 1,500. So each of the days, it's a nice spot, but it's still going to feel like that more comfortable setting for getting to meet people and getting to meet some of the leadership.
And speaking of the theater, was it the goal from the beginning to move this to somewhere that was really close to the ballpark so that you're in the neighborhood? Was that something you guys set out to do from the first, from the beginning, or did it just kind of work out that way?
I think when we talked about different venues, we explored a lot of different venues, right? We took a look at what we wanted the experience to be from the attendee side. When we went to Remova, it truly felt like the right fit for us. I mean, when you walk through the lobby there and the fact that like the group that has invested so much into this piece of Bridgeport that have shown so much like love and care to restore it to its beauty, it felt like a really cool way to bring back SoxFest in a way that, again, like felt like home a little bit and also like gave us the opportunity to kind of like celebrate the neighborhood. So, when we talked about a lot of different concepts, but Remova felt like the best fit for us. And I think people are going to feel that when they walk through.
And so this is going to happen in late January. When will tickets go on sale for this event? And now, what are the levels of the tickets that people can be purchasing when they do go on sale?
Sure. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. So Tuesday, November 26th, there's a special pre-sale for season ticket holders tomorrow at 9, but the general public can get their tickets at noon. And they can go either to the Remova website at removachicago.com or at whitesox.com /SoxFest Live. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be different than all of the fan events that I think people have been to in the past. Live music, a lot of exciting entertainment, a chance to meet players, former players, leadership. Again, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think the only other question that I had for you, Sheena, do you feel like SoxFest had to look different than the typical convention because it's been such a long time? Like, do you think that SoxFest would be back in 2025 if it looked like a typical convention, or is it now that you've made this change and brought it to this new format, that's what the White Sox were looking for, a new updated version of SoxFest because maybe the convention part was a little played out or done enough at that point?
I think there's pros in all of the event concepts. I think when we were thinking about the history of SoxFest and the years on which we couldn't hold it, it felt important to us to reintroduce the concept of SoxFest in a new way, in a way that kind of reflects how events are happening, experiential, more up close, more exclusive, something that felt like we were giving people a chance to get up close to our White Sox organization and not something that felt in such a large setting, more just distant, right? We wanted to bring something that was more up close and personal.
Absolutely. I think that's going to do it for questions. As Sheena said, do you have one more?
Just one more. Just what events would you have for the youngsters, the chillins of Sox fans? Like, because I'm sure people out there with the kids and like, we would like old Sox Fest, but we want to know if our kids can come out and what events you have planned.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. We have the SoxFest Kids Camp that's also happening. SoxFest of the past were really great about incorporating the whole family, but this year we wanted to do something specifically for kids. On Saturday afternoon, we're doing over at the ComEd Rec Center a kids camp. And so they'll be able to go through drills and rotations with some of our White Sox elite staffing coaches, but also some player appearances. So there'll be an opportunity to grab autographs and photos with major leaguers as well. So it's going to be so much fun. I know my 6-year-old will be really excited to try and get his hands on some drills and some autographs as well.
Should be a fun time. Again, as Sheena mentioned, tickets go on sale tomorrow at noon. So head over to the link in the description, MLB.com/White Sox/fans/SoxFest. Sheena, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate all the info on SoxFest Live.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Again,
Sheena.
that is the Senior Director of Public Relations, Sheena Quinn, for the Chicago White Sox. We got about 3 minutes here before we hit a break. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Are you guys excited? At least I think it's interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out, so I really can't say it's going to be a good change or bad change because it's not January 24th and 25th yet.
Listen, I think I put it this way on Friday, and I feel even more this way now after kind of hearing about this. Obviously, there are folks who went to SoxFest to go stand in line for autographs, and they are obviously disappointed that they're not going to be able to do that in the exact same way that they have in the past. That being said, there are folks who went to SoxFest to get a front row seat for those panels and sit on the stage and listen to players from the 05 team or even teams that are older than that talk about the glory days, or to hear from Chris Getz or then it was Rick Hahn, but to hear from the team leadership about what's going on. Those fans, it sounds like, are going to get not just exactly what they liked the best about old SoxFest, but maybe more of it and more of a focus on that. So I totally get the idea that different folks have different priorities, and some people who had priorities are probably going to be disappointed with this change, but there are going to be a lot of folks who had the priorities that are going to be very well answered by this change. I think it's a cool thing that it's in Bridgeport. I think it's a cool thing that it's at this very recently renovated theater down there. I don't know how many folks have gotten a chance to go down there. I ventured into the tap room once that they have in the front. Haven't been in the venue itself for a show or anything like that, but very cool that it's right down by the ballpark, that it's very south side, right? And so I think this will be a very cool event for the folks who do get to attend and do get to soak it up. And I think the fans who like this kind of thing will love this the way it's set up.
And that's I agree, and that's part of why I asked the question that I did. Was I love the fact that they've moved it to Bridgeport so that it's something that is in the neighborhood. I like that idea of celebrating that neighborhood and making it an event that's really close to the ballpark. And two, I think format wise, like given the state of the team and the organization, if I'm a fan, what I'm probably most interested in is I want to hear from Chris Getz. I want a chance to ask him questions. I want to hear from Will Venable and a chance to ask him questions. And so I do think, a lot of those people who make it a point to be right there in the front row or to have that kind of access, they're going to be really happy with this opportunity to get to do that. Because if you're a fan, that's got to be the biggest questions on your mind is where are we going from here? What's 2025 going to look like? But also beyond that, where's this organization headed? Because there are a lot of questions about the organization as a whole. But if I'm somebody who's thinking about buying tickets for the 2025 season, I probably got some questions.
Tell me why. Tell me why you should be buying.
Why
them,
should I buy tickets? Exactly.
Yeah, I like the more intimate feel that they're having a Remova Theater than a big convention center like they've had in the past, where I think if this goes off like they believe it will, it'll become more of an event where people will have a lot of FOMO. Like, oh, man, I didn't go to 2025 SoxFest. I got to get my tickets now. And the fact that it is a more of an exclusive, more shorter and smaller audience, I think that breeds itself into a more of an exclusive type of thing. Like, oh, man, yeah, I'm mad at the White Sox, but the middle of January, I want to see my team, and I'm thinking about baseball again, and all those people who went all had a great time. Goodness gracious, I can't miss next year's.
And honestly, hopefully there's less of the autograph seekers and more just White Sox fans. Hopefully that does, bring in more people that are true White Sox fans that are going to create that type of atmosphere rather than just a massive convention hall with people who are in Chicago that happen to also just like baseball. Maybe it will just create more of a White Sox vibe. We got to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Maybe some more few thoughts on SoxFest, and then we'll get into some other stuff, mainly Andrew Vaughn being tendered a contract here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Vinny?
Yes?
You got to tell me about ComEd, I think.
ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient.
I didn't know that at all. I didn't even know that we had an ad read coming up.
It's all true. The energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
What do businesses have to do to get those savings?
All they have to do is sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
Why aren't more businesses doing it? I mean, they got to get the word. ComEd has to get the word out about this.
The only thing I can think of is that maybe they forgot the name of the website.
ComEd.com/biz?
That's the one.
Oh.
Yeah, say it a couple times so they remember.
ComEd.com/biz. ComEd.com/biz. ComEd.com/biz.
There you go. That'll do it. Terms and conditions do apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
ComEd.com/biz.
Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just have to pick more or less on 2 or more players for a shot of winning up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. And you can sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going to go off, which players aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Like I told you before, I've done Prize Picks with before the season with Adley Rutschman and Carlos Correa having multiple home run games, and I won over $100 using Prize Picks, and you can too. Download the app today, use the code CHGO, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Thank you very much. Vinny, if you are looking to go see a show at the Ramova, JoJo is playing March 15th, so beware of the Ides of March.
JoJo?
Leave, Get Out.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Who are you thinking of?
No, that's the one I was thinking about. Wow.
Get out. Right now, the end of you and me.
That's good.
Youngest solo artist to ever have a debut single in the U.S. I mean, this is go see.
She can sing.
I was hoping you'd keep singing.
No,
Why'd
well,
you stop so early?
No, we're good. We also want to let you know too about our upcoming Black Friday sales event, the ALLCITY Black Friday Extravaganza. You can come and pick up some great CHGO merch. I'm wearing it right now. Jared's got the shirt on as well. We even got the hat on here. We got great stuff coming up. Die Hard exclusive sale is happening November 26th to November 28th. You get 30% off with a certain code. We will send that to our friends that are Die Hards. And also the Black Friday sale starts Friday, November 29th. That concludes on Cyber Monday, December 2nd. You get 30% off over on Black Friday at chgolocker.com. So go head out and check out all the great merch we have in the ALLCITY suites, whether it's DLLS, PHNX, PHLY, DNVR, CHGO, all of it's going to be 30% off coming up on Friday. I do want to get to one thing with SoxFest, and I don't know if this is weird, and it's Jerry Reinsdorf speaking, and then all of the White Sox employees trying to do work outside of Jerry. It seems like Jerry wants to leave Bridgeport. Seems like Jerry wants to leave the stadium. It seems like he's been very open about not liking the neighborhood that the stadium is currently in, but also they're having SoxFest at Ramova. Is that weird to feel that we're celebrating this neighborhood that we love and has been a part of our history for 125 years, but also we want to go to the 78?
Yeah, it's a decent point.
All right.
It's a decent point. This is his organization after all, but I think I think if you go down to Bridgeport as often as we do to cover the games and stuff, that neighborhood loves that team. And, maybe not as much as they have in years past when they didn't lose 120-some games. But, that goes for Sox fans no matter where they live. But I personally think that neighborhood has a lot going on. I think that's a neighborhood that team could exist in and thrive in, just as it has for a century and a quarter. I think they do a lot of good work in that neighborhood and on the South Side in general. So I think the people who work for that organization get that. I think it's very cool that they are celebrating Bridgeport and a venue that's right down the street. I mean, listen, we've talked about this so many times because we've talked about this stadium thing so much. And, the immediate area surrounding the ballpark is what Jerry might be talking about. It's a bunch of parking lots that Jerry owns. Get rid of the parking lots, let them turn into more neighborhood, and you would have a more exciting neighborhood, immediate area surrounding the ballpark, right?
And you own all the parking lots, you could just build vertically.
It's not Bridgeport's fault that there are a bunch of parking lots around the stadium. I think that neighborhood has a lot of places that people can go before and after a game. If they want to walk a little farther, then maybe is the case up at the other side of town. But all that area right around the ballpark, it's not like, oh, what a shame we were dropped into this neighborhood that was nothing but parking lots. So
your own creation.
I think the idea of them celebrating Bridgeport, staying in Bridgeport, is a very good thing because they're part of that neighborhood and that neighborhood is part of them.
And they do. The people who live in Bridgeport, I think, deserve that recognition because, like Vinnie said, that is a part of the city that has been so loyal to this team for such a long time and is such a part of the team's history. And all the talk of moving and all those kinds of things aside, I think that deserves to be acknowledged and celebrated. So again, I like the fact that they are making it about, we're going to do this in Bridgeport and not have it be yet another event that's right in downtown Chicago at the McCormick Place or one of those kinds of venues. Make it about Bridgeport because there's incredible potential there. I've seen it many times coming and going from games where maybe you go a couple blocks from the ballpark, but there's bars full of people, post game having a good time and enjoying being together. So take away some of those parking lots.
I mean, Wrigleyville isn't Wrigleyville if Clark Street's all parking lots, and you got to walk all the way to Southport or all the way to Halstead in order to get to go to get a drink after the game.
And like you said, it's not as if Bridgeport set it up that way.
No.
So, and I think those people have shown that if they could, and you can build some places right by the ballpark, they're going to fill it up. There's going to be people there. So, I'm all for the White Sox are in Bridgeport, and who knows what the future holds, but that's a neighborhood that deserves recognition.
They've been there for over 100 years in that neighborhood. It should have to give something back to that neighborhood, and the Ramova Theater is a perfect place for them to be. I hope it stays there for as long as the SoxFest continues, even if the White Sox were to move to a place like the 78. I hope you keep some type of South Side roots because the White Sox are South Side. Like the 100%. That's their team, and to move a team or to try to move that team from their area they've been in forever, almost majority of the 125 years they've been playing baseball in Chicago
at that intersection
has been pretty much they are at that place. And like Vinnie has said, like you just donate some of those or sell some of those parking lots. You can do your hotel garbage, whatever the hell they call it at Wrigley Field, Hotel Julian. You can put your steak and shakes and your Culvers around there if you want it to be the mall type feel that Wrigleyville is. Or you can just go across the street to Turtles. Or you can go across the street to a ballpark pub like we went to on opening day. Like, there's a bunch of places up there, and I take exception with White Sox Tom about Bridgeport is a very safe neighborhood, and it's right off the red line, and it's a beautiful area. If you've ever been over there as of late, then you're operating on some 1980s type of information. Bridgeport is a great place to be, not a terrible place or a dangerous neighborhood as some might think of it. And so I take exception with that. Bridgeport is a beautiful place. You should go over there. This, as a African-American, I wouldn't have said this 20 years ago because there's been some history there in Bridgeport and Armour Square and Canaryville as far as my people. But as of late, no, it's actually a very nice place.
I mean, I've never had an issue with the red line. And hey, even when the red line's busy, you can walk the 2 blocks a little bit more east and then take the green line. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing about the safety that is actually true. Even when the owner is saying, oh, it came from outside, the gunshot that happened last year. We've never gotten any word from that. It's very weird how the Chicago Police Department's been so quiet on that. There should be an investigation on why that happened.
Should have been.
Wonder why it didn't go down. I think that, again, that's just a load of crap, and Bridgeport gets a bad rap. And again, mainly because of what you said. They wanted all those parking lots for people to drive in and park and, build up and, no worries with transportation. That's what kind of killed that ballpark completely. But it's not the ballpark's fault. The ballpark is fine. All right. Any other thoughts on SoxFest? Done about 25 minutes on it.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I know, Herb, you asked about it, and I know so many folks, just because of the way the history of this team has worked, are very focused on the 20th anniversary of the 05 team. That will obviously be part of the celebration, not just at SoxFest, but during the season, I'm sure. But Sheena talked about the fact that this is the 125th season. They're going to be celebrating everything. Yep. And I'm going to be very interested to see, as someone who knows plenty about the 05 team, but doesn't know as much from the time that took place before I was born. What are they going to do to talk about the guys from the 80s and the 70s and the 50s, right? They had a pennant-winning team in the 50s. They had a bunch of stars in the 70s, Bill Melton and Dick Allen and Richie Ziskin, all those teams, Chet Lemon. Are we going to see the celebration of those different eras of White Sox baseball at this event in January, and then also throughout the season? Because I think there are a lot of folks out there who have such a small amount of knowledge of that, just because it was such a long time ago. That would be cool to throw some more names out there and some more insight into that 59 team especially, but a bunch of other ones throughout those kind of mid-century decades that it would be very cool to hear more about. And I'm interested to see if we're going to see programming surrounded that at SoxFest. Again, people love that 05 team. Those guys from 05 are always very willing to show up to these events. So certainly, keep going back to that because people like it. But it would be very cool to see some other eras mentioned and discussed further in depth as well.
And I know that usually Major League Baseball teams only allowed like 4 or 5 different uniforms during a year, and you have to declare them pretty early before the season. But it's the 125th year of the White Sox, and the White Sox have some of the best uniforms in baseball history. I'm tired of the 83s, but you can incorporate the 83s into a Sunday game. You can incorporate the 70s uniforms into a Sunday game, home game. Same thing with the 1919 version uniform. So I would want them on each and every home Sunday. Bring out a new old school uniform and let the people understand that this is not only a good historic franchise, but the uniforms are undefeated.
Yeah, just the shorts. Can we bring back the shorts?
Please, Jesus. No, Chris Sale's not here. We can bring them back.
No, those were the ones he had an issue with.
No, it's not.
It was the thick cloth ones.
The shorts were tight, if memory serves. You'd probably be good.
Only played one game, too. I'm sure most fans or most players like, man, I want to show my thighs out. Let's go.
No, and then you just get all bloody from sliding. There's going to be no sliding for the White Sox. Yeah, no hustling at all. No, the Sox don't do anything. All right. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how they do that. And even Melissa says seems a lot to fit into a 4-hour event. Could be, 8 hours altogether on the Friday and Saturday. I do wonder too. Sheena said, they're not really sure on production. Do they do like a history day, like one where it's all 2005 and 125 related, and then the next is like the future and current, and that's where they have Chris Getz and Will Venable do
I think
that?
Mixing and matching probably makes more sense because you probably get different crowds each night, right? Yeah. So but sure, I mean, you'd like to see all that stuff, and that's their job is to fit all that into 8 hours, right?
Louis Aparicio is still around. Will Louis make an appearance?
He's still with us?
Yeah, he's 90.
Wow, he's only 90. As a launch into the season too, because a lot of these things are going to be celebrated during the season as well. So, touching on all of that stuff at SoxFest in January, but then trying to generate some get excited for the season as well, because it's 125th year, the 20th anniversary of the 05 team, a lot of things to acknowledge, to celebrate throughout the year.
Absolutely. We have to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We have a little Austin Slater talk after the break. I want to get your guys' reaction, especially because it's unofficial news, but if it's official, maybe it will be a story. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your winter. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. I love the Elmwood Park location, so stop into a store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or Floracal. And available now is Good News' LTO Island Vibes that are available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. So go pick up Good News' new LTO Island Vibes, or go check out Mindy Siegel's award-winning gummies. You can go try the key lime flavor if you feel so brave. Go visit sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. That's 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright Buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style, and they probably, definitely have a style in your team's favorite, or your favorite team's colors, rather. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people.
Thank you, Vinny. Sarah put up a poll in our chat, so make sure you vote for it. We got 21 votes so far, and through those 21 votes, the question asked, are you excited for SoxFest? 52% say yes, 48% no. Which, I don't know.
It's too early to call.
It's too early to call. We'll figure it out. Hey, as Connor says, maybe if they have a Timo Perez tent, people will show up. You know, maybe there'll be a Timo tent. I don't think so.
Timo tent?
Let's
that
talk.
sounds tremendous.
It does sound tremendous.
Will Hawk be outside? Come on, Timo. Come on, Timo. Come on in and meet Timo. In the Timo tent. Mercy.
It sounds great. Maybe it's just like a surprise player. And maybe we have talk for Timo, but, you know, you never know who's going to be behind those curtains. All right. There was something posted to the White Sox website on Austin Slater's profile. It lists him as a right fielder. It lists him batting right-handed and throwing right-handed. He's 6'1", he's 204, he's 31 years old, and he's wearing the number 13. Is that true? I mean, that has not been released by the team from what I understand in a press release, so I don't think we can officially say that Austin Slater is number 13, but the website does list it. No one has worn that jersey since Ozzie Guillén is a manager, and before that, I believe it was 2004, and Willie Harris was the last White Sox to wear that uniform number.
Correct.
So the first time in 21 years someone's going to wear this uniform. Herb, how does it sit with you?
Not well at all, because we've been talking about how Ozzie Guillén's number, well, me, and I think that it's a no-brainer. There are probably 3-4 people, maybe 5 people in the history of the Chicago White Sox that mean more to the organization than Ozzie Guillén. That's it. Like Frank Thomas, yes. Charlie Comiskey, yes. You could say Eddie Collins, you could say some other people, but Ozzie Guillén is the only one that played almost 1,500 games for the team, that managed almost 1,500 games, and now he's broadcasting on the post and pregame on CHSN. Like, who could you say means more to White Sox and was the only guy that you know that's watching right now that won a World Series as a manager for the White Sox? It's Ozzie Guillén. He was the best defensive player in White Sox history and one of the best defensive players in all time. And I think that the fact that you're issuing the jersey, if that is true to Austin Slater, it's a kick in the face to one of the best players, one of the people who I think deserves a statue way long overdue, and that number to never be back in circulation. That fact that it is in circulation again, that Austin Slater might be having it, I think it's disrespectful. But, you know, I hope that this was just a typo and they'll reconsider. I thought that this year would be the year, or at SoxFest Live, maybe it's still going to happen, that they're like, hey, we got a special surprise. We're going to retire Ozzie Guillén's number 13. And everybody goes wild, because that is one of the players that fans universally, I think, love on the White Sox, and I think he deserves his just due as being very, very important to this organization. There's not that many people that mean more to the White Sox than Ozzie Guillén.
We'll see what happens. I'm I as somebody who has to kind of watch for roster moves via the White Sox website, I know that MLB.com and the front offices of teams are not always exactly on the same page and stuff, so it could be a thing. That being said, Austin Slater's last jersey number with the Orioles was 15, so it would be odd that the digital department would just change it for no reason.
He wore 13 for the Giants
for San Francisco,
2020 to 2024.
Sure. So, but also, here's my question. If Austin Slater is going to wear number 13, what is different in 2025 that wasn't the case for the last 12 years? Like, Ozzie Guillén hasn't been around to wear number 13 since 2012 on the White Sox. And they didn't give it to anybody.
Nope.
So that makes no sense that no one has asked for it. They've had hundreds of players in that time and staff, coaching staff members that wear uniforms as well. So I would find it very strange that if there was a rule, why has it been lifted? That kind of thing. That would be more interesting to me than anything. But I definitely don't want to come down on the White Sox quite yet because, as you mentioned, Sean, no official word that this has been the case. It could just be the folks over at MLB.com doing something. But again,
right,
it would be odd for them to just assign their own jersey number to a guy. They could just leave it blank, I would imagine, on the website. So we'll see what happens.
And I know there's, to some extent, players can ask for certain numbers, or players have their own preferences as well. So I don't, without being fully familiar with how this process works, from based on like what goes on the website, it's possible that Austin Slater, without really knowing what he was asking for, says, "Oh, I like 13. I'd like to wear number 13," and it gets plugged in there, and then it gets changed at some point when they say, "Hey, that's." With the White Sox, that's not a number that we're going to give out, because although his number has not officially been retired, maybe it's one of those things where it's not retired, but we don't issue that jersey number, because I agree with Herb that, like, you're talking about a guy, 40 years of connection to the organization as a player, as a manager, and now as a broadcaster. I think if you're going to retire anybody's number, that's a number that should be some serious consideration should be put into that. But yet to assign it to Austin Slater right now, I'm holding out belief that it's probably an honest mistake and that it's something that will end up being a non-issue.
The most popular cameo personality in all of Illinois last year was Ozzie Guillén. I mean, he's still in the what's it called, the lexicon. He's still in the
consciousness.
The consciousness.
Yeah,
Thank you, Vin. Yeah. You're reading my mind. You're reading my consciousness. It would be weird for them not to retire his number, and also it'd be weird for Jerry not to be a part of it. I don't understand the weight aspect. We've always considered there's 11 retired numbers currently. We know that Jerry has a fondness for Jose Abreu. He won an MVP with the team as well, so you'd think that he could possibly be the 12th number retired, and then that would mean Ozzie's 13 could be the 13th number. That was always how it laid out in my mind.
But also, just make Ozzie's the 12th. Who cares?
Right. No, seriously, just retire the number.
Right.
And at this point, too, like, would Jerry even be considering not retiring his number? Because I think if anyone has an affection and, that kind of love for Ozzie Guillén, it's probably Jerry Reinsdorf, who's consistently had him around this entire organization.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
That's the weird part, is that it would be like, I feel like if they've had somebody not wearing this jersey for 12 years, since he's not been the manager, the person putting that, kind of credence in is either Kenny, Rick, or Jerry. So unless it was a Kenny or Rick thing, maybe that's what has transpired is, maybe Chris Getz doesn't feel like that should be a number retired.
Or doesn't know.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Maybe Kenny always said, no, you can't have 13. The first full year now in which somebody else has been running the baseball department, maybe, again, honest mistake, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that Austin Slater doesn't know about White Sox history from where he came from, the Giants and the Orioles and the Reds. So I assume that he will not be wearing number 13 when we break camp and we start playing in March because of there'll be a fervor. I guarantee White Sox fans will be like, when it's closer to time, like, what? He's wearing 13. No, 13 is Ozzie Guillén. Always going to be Ozzie Guillén. And he doesn't want that type of stuff in the city that he's coming into as a first-timer. Probably this last year also. He doesn't want to be like, oh, I'm a pariah because I'm wearing a number that I just like. But it's also a number of a person that is well revered here in this city. So I think he'll change his number. Is 15 available? Unless Dick Allen is doing something.
Gucci.
Yeah. Tadahito is that number.
Tadahito comes back as the anniversary. Is like, nope, sorry, get that off of you immediately.
No, I think the issue
Brett
with
Lowry's like pissed too.
I think the issue with 15 is that they're
Dick
waiting
Allen?
Nick Senzel. Nick Senzel and Martin Maldonado were 15 in 2024. So I think 15 can be taken.
Ooh, yeah, take that out of circulation. You can't use this uniform anymore because it's just bad. Goodness gracious.
All right. The
Nick Senzel.
Number taken up by, or at least the number 25 is taken up by Andrew Vaughn and will be continued to be taken up in 2025. The White Sox tendered him a contract. The only non-tenders for the White Sox being Enyel De Los Santos and Gavin Sheets. Outside of that, Steven Wilson tendered, Justin Anderson tendered. Third guy was
Garrett Crochet.
Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
And then and then Andrew Vaughn. Vaughn was the really only will they, won't they decision there. You could have talked about Enyel De Los Santos, but he was making $1.7 million. What do we make of the idea for them to pick up and tender Vaughn? We've contemplated it, but now it's official.
I think it shows a confidence that they can get him closer to where they thought he'd always be, right? I mean, we talked about it a lot on Friday, but they've brought in a new director of hitting. They're going to revamp the offensive approach that they have in this organization. Here's a guy who they've always felt super high on with what he can do with the bat, and Andrew Vaughn, while $6+ million looks like a lot for a team that's trying to shave down the salary as much as possible. It's a bet that they're willing to make that they can turn him into something that gets them that sort of value in a trade. Because as much as Andrew Vaughn is still one of those leftover building blocks from the last rebuilding project, his tenure here is not going to be is not much longer. It's 2 years of control left, including 25. So you got to look at it as a guy who's probably not going to be a part of the next contending White Sox team. So he, like Garrett Crochet and even like Luis Robert Jr., probably the best thing they can do with him is turn him into something that can be a part of the next contending White Sox team, or even contending White Sox teams down the road from that in Chris Getz's hopes and dreams. So if he has a good first half, or if he has a good first and second half, whether it's at the deadline this year or in this time a year from now, or heck, even at the deadline after that, can they turn Andrew Vaughn into a valuable and attractive trade piece? They think they can, or they wouldn't have made this bet. That's $6 million plus. So I think that you have Ryan Fuller, you have Andrew Vaughn. You see if you can put those two things together and turn Vaughn into that hitter you always thought he was. Is there going to be more power? Is there going to be that elite level batting average and on base like he showed when he was at Cal? We'll find out. I think White Sox fans have plenty of reason to be doubtful because he's played for 4 years and they haven't seen it yet. But they, with a new, some new staff members in place, and I think a new whole apparatus in place in their estimation, they probably hope and think that they can get him turned into something that looks a lot more like what they expected from the number 3 pick in the draft. Maybe not all the way there, but something that can get them something back in a deal that makes all of this investment worth it.
You wonder too, just looking at the White Sox depth chart, if you don't tender Andrew Vaughn a contract, because they also have the reality of we have to field a major league team in 2025, and if he's not on it, then who slides in and takes that spot? Because there's not a lot behind him that can slide in there. So, but you're right. Like, you are talking about somebody who was not just a first rounder, but a very high first rounder, 5 years ago. And so you don't get picked that high in a draft unless there's talent there. And if you don't feel like you have cultivated that talent properly to this point, but you think that you still can, then you take that chance, even if the $6 million or so that he's projected to make next year is probably an overpay given what he's produced so far. You're kind of riding that hope of, with a new hitting infrastructure and a new hitting coach, that you've got something that's untapped there that you can get into and see a different Andrew Vaughn than you've seen so far in his career.
I know Ryan Fuller is brought here for the future, the current and the future, so more of the future. But if you're talking about players that Ryan Fuller is primed to turn from where they were in 2024 to something that more resembles to the player that they think they are, number one on the list is Luis Robert Jr. Number two is Andrew Vaughn, because they know at the apex of both of those guys' career, they're gonna be hitters. They're gonna be people that you have to deal with. But last year, there's 25 qualified first basemen and weighted on base percentage. Andrew Vaughn's 24th. Like, he is not a powerful first baseman. He's not a good fielding first baseman. And like Jared just said, he's making $6 million. Not a lot in the first baseman market, but a lot for the White Sox to bring him back. So I think the main reason why he's back is because of Ryan Fuller. There's a different voice out there. They think that he can maybe say some words to him to unlock something that's inside of Andrew Vaughn. And to let him go, if they were just to let him go and not tender him a contract, I guarantee they would be feeling like, I know as a fan, I'll be feeling like, we didn't give him enough time, and he would go to some other team and unlock that potential that he's always had. I am glad that they picked up the option just to see one more chance. All right, can you be the Andrew Vaughn we picked third overall? If you can't, cool. We'll non-tender you next year, and you'll be gone, and we'll start over at first baseman. And like you guys said, there's really not a person. You can talk about Tim Elko, but he's just almost as old as Andrew Vaughn, and he's done all right in the minor leagues. But you need to have Andrew Vaughn do something finally with his major league career so you can eventually trade him if he is good in July.
You can go to Fangraphs and go click on player graphs, and you can click on multiple seasons and see the 15-game rolling weighted on base average for Vaughn from 2022 to 2023 and 2024. And it looks like somebody having a heart attack. There's so many peaks. There's so many valleys. The peaks are fairly high, and the valleys come fairly shortly after that. Fast and quick, and 2024 might have been his worst stretch. He just started off poorly and really never caught up. He ended up becoming an average player by, what was that, like May 15th, and then it was done by May 18th. So a real nice spike and then a quick sharp down. I think it's all about finding consistency for Vaughn, and I think the biggest point will be finding a left-handed platoon for him at first base. SoxHaps brings up, speaking of Rule 5, Ryan Ward just made the All-World team for Team USA and wasn't protected by the Dodgers. Seems like a guy worth taking a flyer on, whether it is a Ryan Ward or a Bob Seymour. I think going for a first baseman in the Rule 5 draft, especially a left-handed one, would make sense. Ward, a part of the Dodgers, he's 26 years old, going to be 27 in February. 8th-round pick in the 2019 draft from Bryant University. He's not a local product, but in AAA at Oklahoma City in 120 games, 22 doubles, 7 triples, 33 home runs, 258 average, 317 on base percentage, and a 543 slugging. There is obviously some walk issue there. 141 strikeouts to 41 walks. But, if you're able to give a guy a shot, help him, kind of reach his dreams, and maybe Ryan Fuller is able to make those swing decisions a little bit more cleaner, maybe that is somebody that could fill out the left side of a first base platoon. But I do think the White Sox should just be a little bit more specific with Vaughn. We saw him play mainly first base in DH this year. Didn't seem like it really adjusted his offensive production. But if you get a left-hander and he's facing less righties, maybe we see a little bit of a boost, and you get to see that, possible trade value by the deadline.
Well, the first thing I'd say is have you already ordered your Bob Seymour White Sox jersey? You mention him every show.
Because I don't know the number.
Without fail.
Well, I got to know Austin Slater's number. Yeah, I got to know Austin Slater's number before I know Bob Seymour.
The other thing I don't see that happening. I don't see a platoon at first base. I think if we're going to see that, Gavin Sheets would be on this team.
Yeah.
Still. I think they freed up playing time at DH so they can get more at-bats for more of these younger guys who are going to be part of the future. But I think if you're going to spend $6 million to try and turn Andrew Vaughn into a trade chip, you're going to give him all the opportunity he can to become a consistent major league hitter. I don't think people are trading you very much for a platoon first baseman. I think they would trade you very much for a guy who can be there every day and maybe even be in the middle of a lineup. So I think the investment points to the fact that that won't happen. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't bring aboard someone like that and say, all right, that's who our DH is going to be. That's who we're going to dedicate DH at bats to. But I think if they're going into this with the mindset of maybe we can turn Andrew Vaughn into one half of a platoon at first base, I don't think that's worth a $6 million investment at all.
That's fair. I mean, probably not. And I don't know.
With where the team is.
They have enough, and they have enough
teams
time
that
to
spend a lot of money will spend $6 million on a lot less, but this White Sox team isn't going to do that.
Right. And two, I mean, it's you're spending money on a guy maybe hitting, as Herb brought up. We've seen the actual production, 24th out of 25th qualified first basemen. I don't think that's too great. And, the defense was fine at first base. I think that was one of the discussions, Jared, was that, he was playing left field and right field, so his legs were gassed. We saw him at first base, and he was fine. I don't think anyone's like, that's the next. Who's a good first base glove? Keith
Jr.
Hernandez.
Anthony Rizzo.
That's the next Keith Hernandez out there.
Keith Hernandez was good. Yeah,
he was.
Look at that
I like the Wally Joyner poll too.
I mean, he brought up the Angels in the pregame, so I was like, I'm in an Angels thing in my head.
On the brain.
Yeah.
So I mean, is there any help there that Vaughn maybe can pick it up defensively, and maybe just another year there is just all the seasoning he needs?
Yeah,
please?
I mean, I think similar to getting more consistent at bats, there is something to be said for consistent looks at the same position, maybe even going into spring training with a clear goal of this is one of the things that you're working on, knowing that, hey, our plan is you're going to be pretty much our full-time first baseman. So he can devote a lot of his February, March to working on his defense at first base. And then, when you're playing pretty much every day in the same spot, you're bound to improve at least a little bit. So I could see the defense getting a little bit better. Is he going to turn into a Gold Glover? Maybe not. But if you get a guy where you can tap into some of that potential as a hitter, improve a little bit on defense, and show that he can play first base every day, then he becomes a lot more appealing in the trade market.
That's a lot. That's a long to-do list. I mean,
right.
and all the things you were talking about defensively, that was this year.
Yep.
He didn't have to move off of first base this year at all.
Yeah.
He played DH a bit so they could get him some rest and stuff like that. But that was this year. And Sean, you always, bring up his size. And on the offensive side, I don't know really how, there have been plenty of short guys who have done well with the bat, right? But when you're a first baseman, that's a position that usually comes with some size. We saw how Jose Abreu went from a guy who wasn't so great over there defensively to clean it up at first base. Not only are you a good defender at first base, can you move the way that Jose moved even toward the end of his White Sox tenure, but he was just a big target, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
big guy.
Anecdotally, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would have guessed that Gavin Sheets was a better defensive first baseman than Andrew Vaughn was last year. Again, big guy, big target.
You want to see, here's some defensive stats here. So this is from StatCast, fielding run value. I did not know this. This is sorting by first baseman, playing a minimum of 750 innings at first base in a season. So this is from, I believe, 2016 to 2024. It's 185 seasons of a first baseman playing at least 750 innings. Andrew Vaughn's 2024 is the 9th worst. I guess tied for 6th worst at -7 fielding run value. Vladimir Guerrero was worse in 2023 at first base. Ty France was worse in 2024 at first base. Eric Hosmer in 2019 was worse. Nathaniel Lowe at first in 2022 was worse. And then Tristan Casas in 2023 was worse. But outside of that, no one was worse at first base than Andrew Vaughn according to fielding run value.
It's been a tough couple of years for defense at first base in Major League Baseball, it sounds like to me.
And like Vinny just brought up, I was going to bring that point up. Like you saw Jose Abreu go from a butcher to a concerted effort to make himself a better first baseman. I think you relayed a story about him and Ricky Renteria. We're talking about you got to work on first base. The problem with Andrew Vaughn, I don't think he's the athlete that Jose Abreu is. Even though he's younger than what Jose Abreu was at the time, I don't think he has the physical ability to do what Jose Abreu did at that time. And also, he doesn't have the ankles that Jose Abreu does because, man just sliding into the first base to get out is just ridiculous.
He can't make himself taller. That's true.
And he can't make that damn catch in the first foul territory like Jose Abreu used to make like easy with his like hands tied behind his back. Yeah,
the say hey catch in front of the tarp
all the time. Yeah, and Andrew Vaughn's like, I don't know where balls are at. What's going on?
How fun. All right. That's mainly going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. I will give you an update, though. We will go to the Venezuelan Winter League because that is something that is a part of our show. We did talk about Jose Abreu, and last time we talked about him, we talked about his 4 home runs in the Venezuelan Winter League. He still has 4 home runs.
It's Venezuela or Puerto Rico?
Oh, Puerto Rico. My
Okay.
bad. I think
Lenin Sosa's playing in
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
That's my
Yeah.
bad.
And he's killing too.
Yeah, so Jose's cooled off a bit was more what I was saying. He's now got a 289 batting average, a 346 on base percentage, and a 622 slugging percentage. And then our guy Lenin Sosa in the Venezuelan league, my bad, 426, 481, 830. I don't think there's been any updates with his 19 of his 40 hits have been extra base hits.
Lenin.
That
Lenin the
works.
dream.
Well, who needs a left side of the first base platoon when you have Lenin Sosa? That's what I've always said.
As your second baseman?
He's your second first baseman.
Mm.
When Andrew Vaughn, fails by March
Goes
or May,
By March.
by May,
Oh my God.
Yeah,
boot him off the team, and Lenin Sosa's your new first baseman. Boom, there you go.
And,
doesn't break camp.
and Andrew Vaughn has experience at second base, so the switch
That he
can
does.
be easy.
You're talking about defense. Can Lenin Sosa play first base?
He has. Is that
Probably
enough for you?
Didn't
Do I
really
need to
answer
say
my
more?
question.
Oh,
but-
okay.
He has a glove.
he has.
I mean, I wouldn't want him
He's
to.
he's played 2 innings there.
Well, if you know who the White Sox list as their backup first baseman right now is Miguel Vargas. You look at their depth chart.
That would make sense.
Vargas. at
He's played
first
all
base.
over the place. Why doesn't he continue to play all over the place?
I don't know. You're no offense. You two are the ones that go to the ballpark. You can ask this. I mean, it seemed like they just really
I've been to
wanted
the
him at third
ballpark
base.
since September.
That's true.
Yeah.
It seems like they wanted him to be at third base.
That is a great question. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I think Chris Getz said you're getting Miguel Vargas because of his versatility. And now you're just like, I know why Grady put him at one spot so he can get comfortable there, but he is versatile. That's proud of the reason why he was such high ranked as a prospect, even though he couldn't field anywhere. He's a butcher at second. He's not that good at third, and we saw him in left field. Really terrible. Now, can he just sit down in one spot and learn that spot and be passable? We don't need him to be a Gold Glover. Just don't make the easy errors. Like a ball is hit to you, field it, throw it to first.
Is that what you wanted me to ask Will Venable in my one-on-one with him 5 days after he got hired? So where's Miguel Vargas playing?
I mean, you could have.
That
You also
should've
could
been
have.
question number one.
Question
right?
number 1. So, Will, welcome to the South Side. Question number 1 for you. Where in God's name is Miguel Vargas going to play?
And the
He's like,
second question
left
is
off.
Ricky Renteria your bench coach?
I knew the answer to that one already.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, they haven't announced officially who's on the staff.
He said it.
Yeah, he broke the news.
He said who his bench coach is going to be.
Right. No, but
Walker
I'm just saying,
McKinnon.
I mean, Ricky Renteria can be a part of, maybe he's run
Assistant-
prevention coordinator.
He's the
Assistant hitting coach Rick Renneria.
Do you want to see
back.
Rick Renteria back in town?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah,
Love Rick
let's
Renteria.
go.
Yes.
Everyone likes Rick Renneria.
Yeah.
Rick
We
Renteria
love
doesn't
the
want
guy.
to see himself
Yeah.
back in town.
That's
He got
more of it, I
done
think.
dirty
Yeah.
by both of these teams.
I know.
Dirty.
If he comes
Man.
back to Chicago at all, I'd be surprised.
I don't even know if he'll transfer through O'Hare.
He's like, no, I'm going to Rockford, and then I'm going to my next place.
route me through Appleton. I'm not doing it. Yeah.
All right,
Those
that's going
sons of bitches.
do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We appreciate Sheena Quinn, the Senior Director of Public Relations, joining us to talk to us about SoxFest and its new iteration, SoxFest Live, taking place January 24th and 25th. Tickets do go on sale tomorrow at noon, as Sheena mentioned, so head over to the White Sox website to find out more details there. I believe you can also go to Remova's website to find more details on tickets. We want to give a huge shout out to Jared Wyllys for joining us on the show, our CHGO Baseball Writer. He will be back on Wednesday for more White Sox talk. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow us at CHGO_White Sox. And if you do want to join the growing community of Chicago sports fans, head over to allchgo.com/diehard. You'll get access and a code to our early Black Friday sale happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. You get access to all of Jared and Vinny's written content up at allchgo.com. You get access to our CHGO Discord where you get to chat with us and diehards alike. And you also get, again, exclusive discounts on merch and events, especially like the upcoming Black Friday sale happening on Tuesday and Wednesday for our diehards. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We want to give a shout out to our Bull Show that is coming up here at 5:30. So make sure you're tuning in to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel where we got Bulls Blackhawks, Bears, White Sox, Cubs, Red Stars, Sky, etc. coverage for you. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. For Vinny, Jared, Herb, I'm Sean. Thank you to Sheena Quinn. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.